If you've ever spent 2 days making sourdough bread only to pull a flat, dense pancake out of the oven, this video is for you. I bake sourdough like it's my job. Well, it actually is my job. And I make thousands of loaves every year. I talk to home bakers every single day who feel personally victimized by sourdough after putting in all that time and effort just to end up with a sad, flat loaf. But here's the good news. Flat sourdough almost always comes down to just a few specific mistakes. And today I'm breaking down the 3 biggest reasons your sourdough bread is flat and how you can fix them. We're gonna start with the one that causes the most problems by far. If you fix this first issue, everything else gets easier. Let's get into it. We're starting with the #1 reason your sourdough bread is flat, and that's because your bulk fermentation is off. This is where almost everyone goes wrong. Even experienced bakers get this one wrong sometimes. When bulk fermentation isn't right, it doesn't matter how great your starter is, how pretty your shaping is, or how well you scored your loaves, your bread is gonna be flat. Okay, I'm gonna show you 3 containers of dough that I have here. One that is under fermented, one that is properly fermented, and one that is over fermented. Okay, so I wanna show you what each of these 3 different doughs looks like so you'll know what your dough should look like. Let's start with the properly fermented dough. And you can see, let me take this lid off right here. The blue line on the front of this container is where our dough was when we put it in this container and started bulk fermentation. I love these containers because they're clear and they have tall, straight sides. That makes it really easy to see how much your dough has risen during the bulk fermentation process. If you're using a bowl that's narrow at the bottom and wider at the top, it's actually hard to see how much your dough has really risen. So these containers are perfect for bulk fermentation, and I always use them when I'm making 1 loaf of bread. These are my favorite containers. So this dough is properly bulk fermented. Now you can see in the front here, the blue line is where it was when I put it into the container. It has almost doubled in size. If we look at the top of the dough here, if you can see in, you'll see that we've got some bubbles on the surface of the dough. It has a little bit of a domed top. It's like the top of the dough is coming away from the sides of the container. And when I give this dough a jiggle, it's light and airy like a giant marshmallow. The whole mass of dough is moving and it's light and airy. Now I'm gonna take my hands, I'm gonna get my hand a little bit wet here, and I'm gonna reach into this container and I'm gonna pull the dough away from the sides of the container so you can see what the dough looks like. All right, here we go. It's coming away from the bowl really well. So it's not sticking to the sides of the bowl. It's not super stringy like a spider web. It's just coming away from the bowl nicely. It's also not too sticky on my hands. I was able to put my hands in this container and it's not sticking everywhere. This is really properly fermented sourdough, and this is what you're going for when you're bulk fermenting your dough. Let me show you what the dough that's under fermented looks like. Let's start by the rise. We didn't get much of a rise on this dough, and I find that this is the problem for most new bakers. They're terrified of over fermenting their dough, so what they end up doing is under fermenting, and then you end up with really dense and gummy bread. So if your bread is turning out dense and gummy, it's likely that you're under fermenting. That's really the only way that you get dense and gummy bread is from under bulk fermentation, okay? So let's see here, the top, I'm gonna move the whole bowl. It's not shaking that much. I see 1 little bubble here, but not too many, and it's really just that I didn't give this dough enough time. It needed a lot more time to rise. It's not light and airy. It's gonna be dense and it'll be a lot stickier. Let me pull this away from the sides of the bowl for you. It's stickier, it's sticking to my hands more. It feels really dense and heavy. It doesn't feel like a light and airy marshmallow. It feels dense and heavy, kind of like how my dough felt when I was mixing it. There's nothing really airy about this. I would say that this dough, if I was bulk fermenting it, would probably take another 1.5 hours, 2 hours before it was really done. So that is under fermented, and you're gonna have dense and gummy bread with this. And then let's look at the over fermented dough. Now you will also get flat bread from over fermented dough, because remember earlier I talked about that balloon and your gluten structure being sort of like a really strong balloon, and over time it starts to deflate. Well, if you have over fermented your dough, the same thing is gonna happen. It's basically just giving up and going like this. Like, I have no more strength, you've overdone it, I'm just gonna fall flat, like I need a nap and to sit on the couch because I'm done. That's what this dough is saying. It has almost tripled in size. If we look at the front of this container, it's almost tripled. It's really light and airy. I feel like I could pop this. I mean, it's like very light and airy. And if I were to slam this container down, you'd probably see it deflate. That's crazy, it deflated. So it's just very over fermented. Now let me pull it away from the sides of the bowl here. Super, super sticky. Look in here at this web. Do you see all this webbing, this super webbing inside the dough here? That is a really good indication that you have over fermented your dough. All of these webs inside this container here. I know it's hard to see, but it's very, very webbed, and it's just kind of looks like spider webs. And so this is an extremely sticky over fermented dough. Now, like I said before, in my experience, most new bakers under ferment, like we have here, very few over ferment. I would encourage you to just let your dough sit a little bit longer during the bulk fermentation process and risk over fermenting it versus under fermenting it, because over fermented bread is still going to be flat, but it's not going to be dense and gummy. It'll be flat just because the structure can't hold up. It'll have a tighter interior, but it won't be dense. All right, here's the under fermented dough. Very sticky, very, very dense, just like the same as how your bread's going to turn out. So here are my 3 doughs. So you can see what they look like. Really, really dense, little soupy, and much better with a stronger gluten structure. Make sure that you give your dough enough time to bulk ferment, that you're watching for the signs that bulk fermentation is done, that you've got a light and airy dough, almost doubled in size, that it feels like a giant marshmallow, that it comes away cleanly from the sides of the container, and that when you shake your container, the entire mass of dough moves. Now, what would I do if this was my dough that I bulk fermented? I'd turn it out of the container and I realized that it's not done. I would just shape it, put it in the banneton, and let it sit longer before I put it into the refrigerator. If you over ferment your dough, bake it in a loaf pan. That's gonna give it the structure that it needs, because the loaf pan is gonna force the dough to rise up, so you'll still end up with a pretty decent bread, all right? So it just takes practice, but you'll get it. Bulk fermentation is the #1 issue for new bakers that you really need to nail to get that tall, light, and airy sourdough that you're looking for. Reason number 2, you didn't develop the gluten enough. The second big reason your sourdough bread is flat is that the gluten wasn't developed enough. Now, when bakers talk about developing the dough, what we're really talking about is building a strong gluten structure, and this matters a lot with sourdough. I kind of think of gluten like a balloon. During bulk fermentation, your sourdough starter is producing gas, and that gas needs something strong enough to trap it. If your gluten structure is really strong, it's like a nice sturdy balloon that can fill up with air and hold its shape. But if you have a weak gluten structure because you haven't developed it well enough, think of it as a balloon that's kind of like the air is starting to deflate and it just can't quite hold all of that gas, and you will end up with flat bread, okay? So this is where I see a lot of new bakers go wrong. They mix their dough just until it comes together, kind of like this. You can see this dough has come together, and then they will stop. But with sourdough, that's just not enough. Sourdough's a really long process. It ferments for hours, and then we're gonna take our dough and put it in the refrigerator and let it sit in there for hours longer. That means that the gluten structure that you build has to be really, really strong. It has to be strong enough to last through all of that time. So if you're mixing by hand, you really need to get in there and mix the dough aggressively in the beginning for like 6 to 8 minutes, not just a quick stir until there's no dry bits of flour, okay? So I'm gonna show you what this dough looks like right now, and then I'm going to mix it the way it should be mixed, and we'll see what it looks like after that. You can see it's kind of tearing. It's just not a strong dough. Now, time is gonna be a friend to sourdough. As we let this sit for 30 minutes and then do all of our stretch and folds, it will get stronger and stronger, but that's not enough. We need to mix the dough really, really well and really start developing that gluten, and then we'll do our stretch and folds and allow time to do its work to create a really strong structure and to really fully develop our dough. So I'm gonna start mixing this dough. I'm gonna show you how I continue mixing. I got my hand wet so the dough won't stick quite as much, and I'm just gonna get in here, and what I'm gonna do is actually make a cupping motion. I'm gonna make a cup with my hand just like this. You've seen me do this in lots of videos, and I'm gonna slap the dough against the side of the bowl, and I'm gonna be really, really aggressive when I do this. You don't have to worry about hurting your dough at this point, okay? It's actually good to be really aggressive and get the dough mixed really, really well in the beginning. It will just make the process easier for you, and I promise you're gonna have better bread at the end of this process. So I showed you what the dough looked like at the beginning before I started mixing. I'm gonna mix this for several minutes aggressively, like I'm gonna get a workout here, okay? And then we'll come back and I will show you what this looks like when I'm done done mixing it so you know what your dough should look like. All right, I've been mixing for quite a while here. You can take a look at the dough and it already looks smoother and more elastic because I've done a good job of doing an initial mix. Now, if you have a stand mixer like an Uni Halo Pro, that's gonna do a lot of this mixing for you. Even a KitchenAid, you can do the initial mix in the KitchenAid. Just a word to the wise here if you're using a KitchenAid stand mixer. When you do that first initial mix, I have several videos where I talk about using your stand mixer for this. Your dough is gonna feel soupy when it comes out of the mixer with a KitchenAid, and that's pretty normal, but as you do your stretch and folds, it will transform. If you have a mixer like the Uni Halo Pro, which I strongly recommend for sourdough, your dough is gonna be almost fully developed after mixing it in the Uni. So you'll be able to cut back on your stretch and folds. But when you're mixing it by hand, because sourdough can be made by hand just like it was for thousands of years, your dough should look like this when you're done mixing it. Now this is a stronger dough. See how it's stretching more without tearing? Earlier when I showed you the dough, it was tearing just when I grabbed it. And now it's got a little bit more elasticity, a little bit more extensibility. And as this dough sits for 30 minutes before we start doing our stretch and folds, it's gonna get even stronger. And then with each round of stretch and folds that we do, we'll be developing the gluten even more. So remember, develop your gluten really, really well in the initial mix of your dough, and you will have a much better chance of having a tall loaf of sourdough instead of a flat pancake. Quick pause for just a second. If this video is helping things finally click for you, I'd love for you to stick around. Sourdough can feel really overwhelming at first, and my goal here is to make it make sense and feel doable. So if you're enjoying this and want more step-by-step sourdough help, make sure you're subscribed. I share a lot of practical tips, recipes, and troubleshooting videos that walk you through the process in a way that actually works at home. All right, let's get back to it. Reason number 3, you're using the wrong flour for the recipe. The third reason your sourdough bread is flat is that you're using the wrong flour for the recipe you're following. Different flours behave very differently, and not all flours are interchangeable, especially when it comes to sourdough. Now, bread flour has a higher protein content, which means it builds stronger gluten. Look at those muscles. I work out. No, I'm kidding. I don't work out. Stronger gluten equals better structure, better rise, and less risk of your bread spreading and going flat. All-purpose flour has less protein. So if you use it in a recipe that's written for bread flour, the dough won't be able to hold itself up as well. And that alone can lead to flatter bread. Now, whole grain flours like whole wheat and spelt here absorb water differently, and they usually ferment a little bit faster. They also change how the dough behaves. So using too much of a whole grain flour without making any adjustments can lead to a weaker dough structure. Now, one flour in particular that I see a lot of people struggle with is Coruscant, and it's often sold under the brand name Kamut. I'm sure you've probably heard of it by now, and I do love Kamut. It's a fantastic flour to work with. It's absolutely beautiful, but it absorbs water differently than bread flour. And if you replace all of the bread flour in a recipe with Kamut or Coruscant without changing anything else, you're very likely to end up with a really dense, heavy, and flat loaf, which is probably not what you're expecting. Now, that doesn't mean that these flours are bad. It just means the recipe has to be written specifically for those flours. Now, if you're following a recipe written for bread flour, don't replace all of it with another flour. That's really the biggest thing. I get messages all the time from people who say that they tried to make sourdough and it turned out flat and dense, and the first thing I'll say to them is, well, what flour did you use? And they almost always say, I used Kamut. I saw somebody making sourdough bread with Kamut flour, and that's what I used. And while you can do that, that's something a little bit more advanced that you want to do later on, okay? So if you want to add some of these different types of flours into your recipe, here's what I suggest that you do. Start by replacing just 10% of the flour with a whole grain flour, like wheat, spelt, einkorn, Kamut, whatever it is that you want to do. Just replace 10% of the flour. So if you're using my recipe that calls for 500 grams of a high protein bread flour, what you can do is replace 50 grams of that flour with a whole grain flour, and then you don't have to make any other changes. That small change will add flavor without completely changing how the dough behaves, and you'll have a lot more success. So remember, flour choice matters. Follow the recipes as written, especially while you're still learning. So if your sourdough bread has been turning out flat, I want you to hear this. You're not bad at sourdough. Most of the time, it comes down to one of these 3 things: bulk fermentation, gluten development, or flour choice. Start with bulk fermentation. Get that part right first. That is by far the most difficult part for new and experienced bakers. Then make sure you're building enough strength in your dough. And finally, make sure the flour you're using actually matches the recipe that you're using. Once those pieces are in place, sourdough gets a lot less frustrating and a lot more predictable, and your loaves are gonna get a lot taller. And if you want more help, I have a lot of other videos here that go deeper into things like bulk fermentation, sourdough starters, pro tips, all kinds of great stuff that can really level up your bread. I'll link one of those right here for you so you know exactly where to go next. Thanks for baking along with me, and I'll see you in the next one.